Hello and welcome back to the Hester and Lark Knitting Podcast, episode 3. My name's Lily. It's lovely to have you here. Thank you so much for watching for the first time, for watching the other episodes and coming back. It's lovely to have you here, and I feel very lucky that I found some lovely and thoughtful and generous human beings that are happy to tolerate my rambling and also to offer help when I ask for it. So thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy this episode. I'm going to do the same thing as usual, which is finished objects, works in progress, any acquisitions. I'm going to talk a little bit about my plans for the next couple of months, because I've got some things that I actually have to do rather than just well, I don't have to do them, but I'm choosing to have to do them rather than just doing stuff on a whim, which is normally what happens. And then I'll have a little chat at the end about anything that I've been watching or listening to or reading while I've been knitting, because I enjoy talking about those things too. So that's what you're in for. It's not super revolutionary, but here we are. So I do actually have a finished object. It's not something you've ever seen before. And before you go, oh my gosh, Lily, you can knit a dress in a week. No, I absolutely can't. I started this last October. So, you know, I'm not entirely mad. And my finished object is the Hazel Dress from this booklet by Sandnes Garn, which is, I think I said it wrong last week, it's 2202, not 2022. So yeah, 2202. It's this one with this lovely bright green, very fashionable colour jumper on the front. It's got some really lovely projects in. As per Sandnes Garn booklets, not the best size range in the world, but also pretty much everything in here is vastly oversized. So I think probably fits a wider size range than they advertise for, but you know, they probably should pull their finger out and do a bit of a better job. But I already owned it, so we made the thing. So I made the Hazel Dress. I'm going to show you some pictures because I'm going to try and put a picture of me wearing the dress on the screen, but I honestly have absolutely no idea how to do that, and I don't know if I'll figure it out in time for this, but I will put a picture of me wearing it on my Instagram, and that will definitely be linked in the description. But I'm going to show the pictures of the dress in the book so that you kind of have at least a vague idea what I'm talking about. But it's basically just like a giant sweater dress with just a standard I suppose slightly drop shoulder construction. You make the back, you make the front. Anyway, so that's the dress in some nice little pictures in a lovely pinky colour. I wish this colour suited me. It doesn't, but there you go. So that's the dress. And the recommended yarn is the Borsted alpaca. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it, which is the brushed alpaca from Sandnes Garn, which is a sort of it's a brushed alpaca. It has a little bit of wool. No, it doesn't have any wool. It's just alpaca and a little bit of a synthetic. I have used that yarn previously for another project. I didn't use it for this. I used Drops Melody, which is 75? Where is it? 71% alpaca, 25% wool and 4% polyamide, versus the brushed alpaca. This is the one that I've got left over from another project, which is 96% brushed alpaca and 4% nylon. So no wool in this, just alpaca, wool and alpaca, and some, but they're, having now used both, they are very, very, very similar. Their feel and handle is very similar. The knitted fabric they make is very similar, and this is half the price of this. Make of that what you will. I do think this is warmer because of the wool. I know people say alpaca is really warm, but I actually don't find it that warm. I find it cooler than wool. So I find this a little warmer. Anyway, I feel like I have gotten so off track. So I made the Hazel Dress from the 2202 Sandnes Garn booklet. I made the second size, which is a medium, and I had to go up. I used a size 6mm needle. I think it recommends a 5, and I used Drops Melody in the colour Grape, which number wise, because I know I think it's Wool Warehouse. They have the colour names, but actually on the ball bands it is colour 20. It doesn't have a name on it, but I'm pretty sure it's called Grape. And it's a really nice like red undertoned purple, like there's not really a reddy brown undertone rather than a blue undertoned burgundy, because I don't think that suits me as much. So this is it here. Like I said, I will try and put a picture on the screen, but if not, go to my Instagram and you saw the pictures there. It's massive. I love it. I obviously cannot wear it right now because even though it is the most miserable July I have ever seen, it's actually not that cold. It's just sad and wet, and this is very warm. But the miserable weather was just making me want something like cozy and squishy. I mean, I've been sat on my sofa in like shorts and a t-shirt knitting this, which feels a bit stupid, but there we go. So yeah, like I said, I started it last October. It was my birthday cast on, and then I moved house and it got put in timeout because I didn't have time to think about anything except all the things that come with moving house. It's very stressful. And then it's just been sat in timeout because I had to do a semi-difficult, not really difficult, but just required some brain power job, which was picking up the sleeves. So I had done like 80% of the body, and then I wasn't sure where I was at with yarn and how much I was going to have left because I'd done a substitute. So I was a bit like, oh, I just don't know how it's eating this in versus how it's eating it in the pattern. And so I had stopped on the body with I think 3 or 4 skeins left, and then I had to pick up the sleeves. And you'll see this as a running theme. If I get to a point where I have to make a decision or I have to do something slightly difficult on a project and I'm not like super into it, or there's anything else going on, I sometimes will just put it down and then leave it alone for quite a long time. But I have a few, I say a few, like 3, 4 projects that are really, some of them are really close to being finished and some of them are further away from being finished, but I want to be able to enjoy not feeling guilty about them anymore. So over the next few months I'm going to try and like pick one up every now and then and actually get it finished. So this was the one that I chose to do this time, and actually it really didn't take very long at all. It's on much bigger needles than what I have recently been using. So to go from a 3mm needle on my last few projects up to a 6, it was so fast. I was like, oh my god, I've done 4 inches, I'm a genius. No, you're just knitting only 60 stitches for a sleeve on 6mm needles, so of course it's going quickly. It's not the this yarn, and the same with the Sandnes Garn one, it's not the smoothest knitting experience because there's so many like little fibers, and I don't think you'll be able to see on this screen, but the it's almost like a core with loads of floof coming off the edges, and that floof gets all twisted and tangled and like sometimes gets left on the needle, and it's not like this, it's not a super smooth knitting experience like you would get with like a merino or just anything that's not floofy like this. But it's not unpleasant, it's just not quite the same like slippiness. But it does make a really plush, like bouncy feeling fabric. It's really nice. With regards to the pattern, I did it all exactly as it asked, apart from I made it about 5 to 10 centimeters longer, and I'm not very tall. I'm just under 5'4", and if I had done it the length that it was recommended, it would have hit me about mid-thigh. And I was just thinking, oh, for a really like cozy winter dress that I'm planning on wearing with like either leggings or thick tights, that's not really gonna work for me personally. So I just made it a little bit longer. Only it now comes to just above my knee, which I think it will look nice in the winter with boots, and I think looks nice at the moment with just like a pair of trainers or a pair of sandals, if for some reason that weather sandal shoe jumper combination is at any point appropriate. I really don't think it will be, but it looks nice, so I felt good about myself. So yeah, I finished my birthday cast on like 10 months later. That's not too bad. and I'm quite proud of it actually. It fits nicely. I've woven all the ends and I just haven't cut them off yet. Don't judge me. And yeah, not really much else to say about it. Oh no, one other thing. The pattern recommends an Italian bind off for the cuffs and for the bottom. I did not do that. I think an Italian bind off on this like floofy yarn, completely wasted. Like, so much effort for something you are not going to be able to see. And yes, it's not as stretchy as an Italian bind off would be, but on me that sleeve cuff still pushes all the way up to my upper arm, and I can still do lunges in the dress, in the skirt. I checked on the binding. So I didn't do an Italian bind off because life's too short. So I just did an in pattern classic bind off. So knitted the knits, purled the purls and slipped them over. Nothing fancy. The idea of doing an Italian bind off on this yarn, putting all that work in, and you wouldn't be able to see that like perfect, like, oh, you know, my rib goes over the edge. It would have been completely pointless. So those are the two things that I changed. I changed the length slightly, and I changed the bind off on the cuffs and the bottom because I'm lazy, and I'm all for doing things properly when it's really visible. But if nobody, including myself, is going to appreciate it, I will not do it. So yeah, that's my finished object. 10 months in the making. I enjoy it a lot, and at some point I'll figure out how to wear it. I started it when I lived in a very cold house, and I was thinking, oh, this will be so nice to wear in a chilly house. I'll put my thermal leggings on and I can have like a polo neck on underneath and that. And my flat that I live in now is so warm all winter. It's lovely, like I'm very lucky. But I will not be able to wear that indoors where I live. I will die. So I don't know, it's a funny old thing, but I'm pleased with it, and I'm definitely going to make some other things from that booklet. I've talked about the Guernsey Genzo, and that's from there. And there's some nice, just like plain, like classic shaped jumpers as well. So I think that will get a few more uses over the next couple of years. So that's my finished object. So yeah, the one finished object. I'm going to move on to my whips. My works in progress. The first one is the one filled with guilt. Let me reach for it. Hang on one second. Oopsie daisies. And that is, oopsies, my Cumulus tee. As I've previously mentioned, I struggle if I reach what feels like a difficult point in something, or a point where I have to make a decision. And I was talking on my podcast last week how I wasn't sure about how to do the bind off at the bottom of this pattern, which is, you know, for those of you who haven't watched before, which is probably a few of you, the Cumulus tee by Petite Knit, which is a V-neck tee. I am knitting the third size, which is a medium, size 3, in Knitting for Olive pure silk in the colour olive. Anyway, moving on. It has an I-cord bind off at the bottom of the t-shirt. And part of when you do that bind off is in pattern, written in the pattern, you use a smaller needle and you do some decreases. And I was really worried that that would cause like a little poof effect, like a little balloony cinch, wouldn't be flattering on my body, wasn't sure what I was going to do. I'm so grateful because so many people commented on my last video with their experiences, and I also dug through all of the Ravelry projects and read those, and somebody pointed me in the direction of Amy's podcast, Ne Knits. I'm not sure. I'm sure she says it at the beginning of the podcast, and I'm sure my brain has forgotten it, who has just finished one and was talking about how she did the bind off. And I think what I have decided is that I'm going to use a smaller needle but not do any decreases, and I think that will be okay. And if it rolls up a little bit, so it's an I-cord bind off, so you need it to be tight so it doesn't roll up like stockinette does. If it rolls up a little bit, I'd rather that than it cinch in and make me feel like a dumpy lump. I'm not sure I'd actually look like one, but I would feel like one, and clothes really is about how you feel, isn't it? Not really about reality. So I have done maybe like 4 or 5 rows since you last saw this last 2 weeks ago, because I had to make a decision and I didn't know what to do, and so I went and got out the Hazel Dress and finished that instead. So at least it was a productive paralysis, as opposed to one where I just lose all my knitting mojo and just don't do anything for ages. So yes, I just need to get on with it, because to be honest, I need to do maybe like 2 rows on the bottom of this and then bind off some sleeves and an I-cord edging. So it really hasn't got very much left, and I would like to get it done before the end of summer. Not that there is summer left in the UK, it's just grey misery, but you know, I probably should, because I was absolutely loving the process of knitting this, and I just need to get back into it and then I'll love it again. So now I've finished the dress, I think, and I've made a decision about how I'm going to do the bottom, I think I will get back on the horse and just carry on, especially as I love the colour and I'm really happy with everything else about it. So that's the guilt, because I've not really done anything. That's the only thing about doing this podcast, is I do feel like, oh, I haven't done anything on that thing that I showed the other week. Oh, I feel bad. Oh, I haven't done it. But I'm doing this for me as well as for everybody else, aren't I? So I probably should just get over myself. But yeah, I think I've made a decision. Smaller needles, but no decreases. And we'll see how it goes. Worst comes to worst, it's absolutely horrible, and we pull it out and try something else. I'd rather not, because an I-cord bind off takes 6,000 gazillion years. Like, they're painful, but I suppose better to live the pain twice than to live the pain of to have knitted all of that and then to never wear it because you don't like it. I think. I hope. And the other work in progress is a new cast on, because I showed the swatch last podcast and I was so in love with it. Let me find it. It's on my desk somewhere. Here it is. I showed the swatch last time and I loved it so much that I couldn't resist. So I have cast on an April cardigan using the West Yorkshire Spinners Fleece 100% Wensleydale in the colour Peridot. My lord, that is a name, which is this one here. And held with drops kid silk in the colour Pistachio, which is all I have left of my first skein here. And I have very nearly finished the yoke already. Look at me go! So much speed, so much efficiency. Not efficient at all, but just had a lovely time. And I'm really enjoying it. So I'm knitting the size medium, and I've gone up half a needle size. Yes, I think it recommends a 4 and I'm using a 4.5. Because the yarn I'm using is slightly heavier than what's recommended. It says it's DK, but it's more like a sport. And the recommended yarn is a fingering. So fingering and mohair. And I'm just really enjoying it. I like the construction is really fun. I've never made anything like this. So is this a contiguous shoulder or is this a saddle shoulder? I'm not sure. It looks like this. You cast on a whole load of stitches, you do some cleverly placed increases, then you do some more cleverly placed increases but differently placed, and then you do even more cleverly placed increases but in a slightly different place, and you end up with quite a fun shape. I think on Ravelry and on her website, Petite Knit classes this pattern as like a 4 or a 5 out of 5 in difficulty. And I think that's kind of unfair. You have to be able to increase on the wrong side. So you have to be able to do purl increases. And you have to do your own at the same time maths. So it's got increases on for the V-neck at the front, as well as the written increases for the shoulders and the sleeves and things. But actually that's pretty simple. And really it wouldn't take a lot of effort in the pattern for them to kind of help you out a little bit more with that. So I don't actually think it's that hard, because really it's knits, purls, and right and wrong side increases, and that's it. You're not having to follow charts, you're not having to follow like 3 different cable charts at the same time, or, you know, it's actually quite sensible. And I'm really enjoying it. I do always quite enjoy a yoke where you've got increases, because it's that like moreish, I've only got a little, you know, I've only got to do X number of rows more and then I finish the yoke. And then, and then on a jumper, if you're doing a V-neck, you can join in the round and it's a beautiful moment because you know you don't have to purl anymore. But cardigan will have to keep purling. But, you know, I won't have to do wrong side increases anymore because I really, you know, I'm not a fan. I've got my glamorous little piece of paper where I cross off all my rows. I've only got 5 more rows of the yoke left to do, so I'm feeling kind of smug. And I'm really enjoying both the process and the fabric that it's making. I have noticed, and I've noticed when I've used this West Yorkshire Spinners fleece yarn before, I don't know if it's a property of the Wensleydale or it's how it's spun or what. It's a very floppy wool. So I've spun up all my skeins now, but I think I showed last week it like folds in half when you hold one end of a is it a skein? Hank? It like flops. So it's very drapey. That's the word I'm using, better than floppy. It's a very drapey yarn. And looking at my stitches, I normally have like really very even stitches. I don't know if you'll be able to see this. But you'll be able to see some of them almost look like I've slightly twisted them, or they're a little bit looser than some of the others. And this is the only yarn that's ever really happened to me on. So I'm wondering if it's this yarn or the combination of the yarns. But I don't think it's super obvious, especially with the slight marling effect that I've got by using the different shade of green mohair. But I also think some of it will block out a little bit. So yeah, I've got my five rows left of the yoke, and then I can like split off the sleeves and I'll have far fewer stitches left in it, and it'll all feel a little bit more manageable, which is good, because I'm starting to have far too many stitches for my cable and it's all feeling a little bit precarious at times. But yeah, the only thing about this pattern is it has, you pick up for the button band, and it is a ribbed button band that you pick up for. And look, I've noticed that on Ravelry, lots of people have, instead of doing a ribbed button band, they've picked up and done a double knit button band, because I think they're just generally a bit more sturdy and hold their shape a bit better. I've never done a double knit button band before, and I also don't already own any patterns that have a double knit button band in that I can sort of steal the instructions for the buttonholes for. And also I am on a slight yarn chicken situation, because this fleece yarn, this specific one, I'm pretty sure they don't make this colour anymore, so I will not be able to get any more of this if I don't have enough. So I think I may do the ribbed button band, which won't be as sturdy, but I think if I get really light buttons might be okay. I mean, lots of people have done it with that button band as well, but it was just something that I was thinking about while I was looking through all the projects, going, oh, do I want to do that, or am I happy with it as it is? So yeah, that's going to be my April cardigan. I'm just so happy with the colour. I think that the using the like minty coloured mohair has just toned it down just enough, and I stand by that on a much bigger section of fabric. Obviously I've done the swatch and I love the swatch, but it's nice sometimes to see it in a bigger wash of colour. I think that is helpful, and it has reinforced my pleasure with the decision that I've made, because I'm loving life on this, and it's just nice to work on. I'm hoping that I can get the yoke finished this evening. I've got a few delightful night shifts coming up, and just going backwards and forwards on the body will be good for a spot of night shift knitting, because I don't really have anything appropriate at the moment. I had been taking my Cumulus tea when I was just doing the body round and round and round, but now I'm on to sleeves, which have some decreases in, and the I-cord, which I will actually have to think about, because otherwise I will mess it up. It's not really suitable for that anymore, so I do need a plain project for that, and I think this might be the one. Also, where I work is at the moment unusually very cold, so it will be all right knitting with wool and mohair, because I will be freezing. So, you know, hold it on my lap, little tiny blanket. Maybe not. But yeah, very happy. We'll be enjoying this. And it's going quite quickly, again, because it's not on 3mm needles. It's, you know, what a shock. Who knew that knitting on bigger needles was much quicker? So those are my two like active works in progress. I obviously have lots of other things that you've seen over the last couple of episodes, but I haven't really done anything on them, or if I've done like a row or a square, and there's not really any point showing them. So I'm going to move on to acquisitions. And I did buy something, but it wasn't yarn, so that's good. And what I bought was, dun da da, fangirl alert. Can you tell? I bought one of the new Petite Knit Project bags because, oh my god, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. And obviously this has had my Cumulus tea in it, because I feel like if you're knitting something by Petite Knit, you probably should put that project in the Petite Knit knitting bag. It's lovely, it's circular, it's fully lined, it's got little pockets on the inside, it's got a ball of yarn in it, I don't know if you can see. It's got some little pockets around the outside. It's like a lovely quilted thing with sort of peachy coloured flowers on. Mine is obviously covered in both cat hair and alpaca floof, so it's doing well. And I bought this from No Frills Knitting, which is based in Bristol. I bought it on their website and got it sent out. It was very quick. The email communication was fantastic. They have a really nice selection of yarns there. I used to live in Bristol and the shop did not exist when I lived there, and I'm very sad that it wasn't there when I lived there. I'm also slightly grateful because I probably would have spent all my money. But I still have friends in Bristol and I'm planning on visiting them in the autumn, and 100% on my itinerary is going to No Frills Knitting and spending some money on some Sandnes Garn, and probably some knitting for Olive, and also probably many things. They've also got lots of Lopi there, which I would quite like to feel before I buy, because it's a little bit more rustic than I think I would be able to manage, but the colours are so nice. Anyway, No Frills Knitting in Bristol. I bought this. She had the big ones as well, the like huge project bags, which are dangerous because I would probably have so many things in there that I would forget what was at the bottom. And she also had like the Petite Knit's just done some like knitting needle cases and stuff like that, and she had a decent supply of most of those things. And I love it, and it's really nice. It's got a flat base, so you know you can easily fit a jumper project in that, if it's like a jumper and not a dress. Dress would not fit in here, but a jumper would. And it's just so pretty, and I stan. So here we are, fangirl alert, knitting 2 of her patterns, bought her bag. I'm basic, forgive me. So that's my only acquisition, no yarn. Well done. I'm trying to use up some of this bad boy. The other thing that I quickly wanted to mention is, I think I spoke about this at the beginning, is that over the next couple of months there are a lot of birthdays of small humans, and I would like to make them some things. And there's also some new small humans that are yet to make their way into the world, but that are coming. So I would also like to make them some things because they are very precious and very wanted and very special. So I've got a 1-year-old I need to make something for, a 2-year-old I need to make something for, and then at least 2 babies that are not here yet. I've got a bit longer for that. I don't own any of my own babies. I don't own a baby. I don't have any of my own babies. So if anyone has made things for small people that were deemed successful by their parents, please let me know. Ideally in a DK-ish weight, because I have some washable, I know that's important, DK weight yarn that I would quite like to use up because I don't really have enough in it to make something for me, but I do have enough to make things for small people. So any kind of pattern recommendations or style recommendations, I would love that. Love some feedback, love some input. And yeah, I think I'm quite looking forward to doing those, because I think you can do like fun stuff that you wouldn't necessarily try on something for you, maybe, or just more fun things, because kids like random fun stuff, don't they? So yeah, 2 toddlers, 2 babies. Anyone got any pattern recommendations? Because honestly, I'm flying blind. That would be lovely. And I'm probably going to be trying to make slightly bigger sizes for all of these people so that they get a little bit more wear out of them. And I am very aware that the very small, very new people that aren't here yet will have lots and lots and lots of things in very small, very new sizes. So we're going to go for slightly bigger things, but I'd still like to make them something baby rather than something toddler, which is what I'm going to do for the other 2 that are toddlers almost. The other thing that my other plan is kind of related to something you've already seen, which is that I have a bunch of unfinished stuff that I need to get on with, so that I feel less kind of like less sort of like semi-present guilt. I think the next thing I'm going to finish is I've got a jumper which just needs sleeves. Body is finished, everything is finished, just needs 2 sleeves. Also on quite big needles. I'm pretty sure it's on 6mm as well. So probably maybe like a day per sleeve. So that's the next thing to be finished. And also it's in a really lovely colour and it's a nice lightweight jumper. So it will be a good autumn piece. So it seems silly not to jump on that and finish it. And also then I'll know what I've got left over and I can maybe use some of those leftover bits for lovely, beautiful babies who need special things because they're special humans. So that's kind of over the next couple of months. There'll be some like little baby knits and things going on. So yeah, just let me know. Hopefully they won't take me very long because they're small. This is what we hope. And then the last little section that I like to talk about is anything that I've been watching or reading. Guys, I am still so stuck on Criminal Minds, like it's actually embarrassing. I think I've watched about 8 seasons worth in 3-4 weeks. I need someone to help me and just take it away from me. Or actually, I'm not that far away from finishing it all. So maybe that's what needs to happen. I just need to like absolutely mainline it until it's done. And then I can move on. I'm still listening to the book that I mentioned last week, which is Buried by Alice Roberts. Fantastic, really enjoy her. It's the second one of her audiobooks that I have purchased and I'm really enjoying. Love a bit of ancient history, so like pre-Roman, and it's fascinating and I'm having a great time. So that's kind of what I've been watching, reading, getting up to. Nothing very exciting. Work has kicked my little booty and I am so tired. I have nothing left in the tank at the moment. So you might notice that lots of the thoughts that you got today were in a very jumbled order, and I apologise, and I hope that next time I can be a little bit more clear. I feel like that first section in particular, I just went off on like word safari, so make of it what you will. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate every single person that chooses to spend some time with me and talk. I'm doing my best to stay on top of talking back to people, talking back, that sounds like I'm being rude, on replying to people and like trying to have a conversation rather than just being me speaking into the ether. That's the part about this that I'm valuing the most. I feel really lucky, and it's so lovely to have you all here, and I hope that today wasn't too mad and manic, and that you managed to stick around and say hi at the end. So yeah, that was me. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. So bye bye.